Hey everybody, it's your guy Jimbo. We are out in the beautiful Gulf of Mexico today. This is looking alright, probably 15 to 20. We're on some small rock piles north of the island. We're out here with my buddy Davis. Say hey buddy.
Hey, what's up?
And my dad. We're going to get our first episode filmed. So we're gonna finish gearing up and we'll see you in the water. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my favorite place on earth. So I'm gonna kind of let these roll and narrate a little bit as we go along. What I'm doing here is basically just checking these holes for grouper or any signs of life or larger fish. Where we're at in the Gulf is filled with a million of these, and they're honestly like little tiny labyrinths. So you never know what you're gonna find. You might think a hole can't hold a thing, and then you might look in there and you might find 100 pound live grouper. You never know. This poor guy found some braid out here in the Gulf, and I'm not sure how exactly he got so tangled up, but he is certainly wrapped up. When I go back down for him, you can see that he's somehow embedded the braid in his mouth. And I think that might actually be how he got so tangled up in it, but you'll be able to see that. Poor guy tried to hide. Thought I was trying to eat him, not help him. He grabbed my finger right there. I kind of forgot that he could pinch. So it's kind of hanging out of his mouth there. I cut it as close as I could, and until I watched this back, I didn't see that I left a small piece of braid hanging from him. I feel bad about that. I wish I had done a better job. Hindsight's 20/20. I hope he continued to live a full crabby life in the Gulf of Mexico. I refer to those as Caribbean king crabs. I have no idea what exactly their official name is. That's just what I call them. You see a little mangrove snapper come in, get a little curious, and let it fly. First fish of the day. If you're an average spear fisherman, there's something called a stone shot that as hunters we try for every time, but it's not always a guarantee, and with these smaller mangroves it is certainly a little harder to hit them, but we do our best. And when we can't, we use a technique called the brain and bleed, or different cultures have different names for it, but it basically is that you stab a knife into the brain of the fish, dispatching them quickly and humanely, and then bleeding them is more for our sakes than anything, but it reduces the pinkness of the fillet, making it a little bit more delicious in my opinion.
Is my flashlight up there? Will you throw it to me?
I'm an idiot, forgot my flashlight.
Give her a good overhand, buddy.
Shout out to Princeton Tech for making these bright green. Hard to lose them on the reef. There's something back there. It looks grouper-esque, but I got a little too curious, pushed my hand a little too far in there, and he took off. Lives to see another day. At this point, my dad and Davis are back on the boat. They are a little less experienced than I am, so they're a little less comfortable in this murkier water. The GoPro definitely makes it look a lot cleaner than it is, because it is not super great. But it's kind of my favorite. Just enough so you can see, just enough to hide you from the fish. These rocks were pretty quiet this day. I'm doing something here that I don't usually do as well. Usually when I'm in the water alone, every fish that I take, I usually bring it back to the boat and get it out of the water pretty immediately, even though it's not flopping around and it is still leaking trace amounts of blood here and there, and that will actually cause the sharks to move in a little bit quicker. As you can see, I spooked another something out there. I think that was a black grouper as well. But I'm not 100% sure because I never actually saw it, I just saw the dust cloud. Like I said earlier, you never know what you're going to find in here. And if you look closely right around here, you can see that pattern. That is a Goliath grouper right there. He weighed probably about 50 pounds. Not sure how he ended up in that small of a coral head, but he's in there. That was snorkel talk for a wow, big shark. Alright, spot number one yielded a couple fish, nothing crazy. It's a little murky and definitely a little sharky there towards the end. So we are going to push it into some shallower water and hopefully find some better biz. See you there. So this is one of my shallower spots. It is only around 6 feet to the bottom here, so I could actually stand up if I needed to. And oftentimes if I have to adjust my mask, I will. Nice mangrove comes out of that ledge. I hit my shot. Just couldn't find the stone shots on these mangroves today. I've hunted these rocks a number of times, so I have a bit of an advantage on these fish. I forgot the flashlight here, so I was able to see this guy poke his head out, and I shot a nice black grouper from this exact same position about 6 months ago. I don't know if you noticed when I pull my head back, but there is actually a nice lobster in the corner of this ledge. This was filmed a few days before the opener of lobster season, so he got to continue hanging out in his home. Behind those angelfish, you can kind of see a faint glimmer of orange scales in the back of this cave. Shooting out of ledges is kind of hard sometimes with the other tropical species coming in and out. I'll put my gun back there just to make sure. That's called a grouper grunt. Sometimes it causes the fish to move around a little bit. There's that lobster I was talking about. I let her fly. If you couldn't hear with the impact, I heard you can hear some fluttering against the rocks back there, which means I hit my mark. Like I said earlier, I had some trouble finding stone shots today, but it was a clean hit. I worked pretty quickly to dispatch that fish. Nice mangrove. I also like to take it one step further and gut those fish when I can. Sometimes when you're in a hurry, you don't really get to. So I'm going to let this roll. I thought about editing it out, but this kind of helps stress the importance of really taking your time and taking that extra second when you're lining up on fish. In spearfishing, there's no magazine, there's no anything else, so unlike other forms of hunting, it's more similar to archery, and you have one shot, and you really have to make it count. Fish have a funny way of knowing when you've missed or when you've unloaded. You make a lot of noise when you pull that trigger, and they come looking. And it always has a funny way of making you regret not taking your time and taking that extra second, because oftentimes you'll miss a fish and 4 keepers will come in to almost laugh at you because you're unloaded and they know it. You will see later on that once you get a couple snapper on your shooting line, it certainly gets a little harder to reload. That time I found my stone shot. When you're dealing with multiple fish, the line can get a little bit kinked up. It gets a little hard to work with. I try not to shoot more than 2 or 3 snapper on the same line, but as always, brain and bleed. So I've got Davis working on another ledge right now. I decided to do a little exploring. Put my head over this ledge to see if anyone's home, and unfortunately scare this larger black grouper over there. So that's a good sign that he didn't leave the hole, he just moved from one side to the other, so I quickly made it back to Davis. Snagged my light and my spear gun, because unfortunately I didn't have my gun on me. I left it over there just in case he needed a backup shot on the fish he was trying to get. There's a nice hogfish underneath that ledge, but
let your heart rate come down and come with me, because we're about to hunt like a 20-pound black grouper.
with the hogfish population coming back, I definitely don't like taking them too often. It is a delicious white flaky fish, so I for sure like them, but I don't see many keepers nowadays, so I let them swim more times than not. So it's a little sandy under here. I find what I'm looking for. Let it rip. I found my mark on a stone shot. Nice black grouper. Not 20 pounds, but very legal, very delicious. Usually I swim these back to the boat anytime I find them, but this time I had found a second one in that same exact ledge. After a brief discussion with Davis, he decided that he did not want to risk missing the shot, so I went down to take the shot for him. It is one grouper per person, so technically I shot them both, but one fish is for me, one fish is for Davis, so we're well within our constraints. And funny enough, he's laying in the exact same position as the first one. And that second shot was not as well placed as the first one. And as you can see here, that shaft is kind of lodged in the back a little bit. I don't know if you noticed, but the first thing I do when I put my hands on the shaft is I push it back just a little bit to make sure those floppers cleared the fish. I only have one band on. So sometimes the floppers don't go all the way through the fish to hold it, but this time it sure did, and it went even further into the rocks behind them. It takes a little bit of wiggling sometimes to unlodge that shaft from the rocks behind it. The hardest part about ledge hunting for grouper is the retrieve almost 100% of the time. Heart rate's elevated a little bit, and working and exerting yourself while holding your breath definitely takes it out of you fairly quickly. So with the excitement going and everything else happening at the same time, it gets a little intense. It's quite beautiful with these little bait fish swimming around though. So what I'm doing is I'm just twisting the shaft, because the rivets on the end that hold the floppers in is actually what's caught here on the rocks. So right there I got it to come free. The grouper does me a favor and swims itself right out from under that ledge. Poked him a little bit off center there. My bad, buddy. Dispatch him really quickly. So while I was doing that, I saw his pec fins kind of flickering a little bit. I'm not sure if it was him or the ocean current So I went back in just to make sure that he was fully dispatched. Something I've never done before is 2 legal black groupers on the same shooting line. What a great adventure and a great way to finish off episode 1. Thank you so much for coming this far and watching this video. I will be posting more content, so please stay tuned, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And we will see you next time on episode 2 of Adventures with Jimbo. Thank you again.